Hey, welcome to my first record. My name is David Britto. I'm a music journalist based in Bombay. And on my first record, I talk to artists about their first releases, whether it's an EP or an album. And today I'm joined by Bombay-based singer-songwriter Tejas Menon, who released his debut EP, Small Victories, in 2014, 6 years ago.
Oh my
So Tejas,
God.
thanks for taking the time to thanks for taking the time to chat with me, man. And how have you been?
Thank you for having me. This is a really cool idea. I think it's there's a lot you can kind of find out about an artist, and just from their own reflection on their first record after a period of time has passed. Yeah, I'm fine. I'm getting along just like everybody else, but I can't complain. I have whatever I need. Life is fine for me, so it's okay. It's going well.
So let's rewind 6 years ago
Oof.
when Small Victories came out. I remember you saying not too long ago that Small Victories was a working professional who had a hobby. What can you tell me more
Yes.
about that quote from you?
Well, yeah, that was still at the time that I still had a job. I was a working stiff, just like, a lot of people. And I was pursuing music, obviously on the side, not knowing that I was probably going to quit. I think my decision to quit my job and not get another job, I think the latter part is like slightly more important in that regard. I think I didn't really expect that to happen. I just thought, hey, I have a collection of songs which I'd like to put out professionally and record professionally, and that's all I was really thinking at the time. And I was, funding it, using my salary and things like that. But yeah, of course, I didn't know at that point that it would kind of kickstart, this career in music. I often think about my career as like an accident, like I became a musician like professionally by accident. And I have no complaints about that, of course, but yeah, it's just now that I think about it, it's interesting how it happened and that it was like 6 years ago, man. Yeah, that's mad.
You could be brave, but I don't even know why.
So the record opens with Brave, the Bollywood item number, because it featured
Yes,
in.
you're not wrong. Yes, it is.
Well, no, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I mean, that song has more to it, of course. I mean, was it's a good song that opens the record because it's like saying, "Hey, man, like here I am. Here's my voice. I'm brave right now. I'm taking this chance." And is that what the song talks about?
Well, I so a lot of these songs, particularly, and we'll obviously get to each one, but like Brave, I think was it was written when I was still in university, and I was kind of partially writing it about somebody, who I thought was more than just a friend, and she was very like reluctant to be in any kind of relationship or whatever. And then so that's kind of where the song kind of started, where it was just like about people who are you know reluctant to make a decision. It doesn't have to be a good or a bad. I mean, it can be either decision. It can be a good decision or a bad decision, or at least any path. You can choose one path. But when you're on the fence, it's like slightly more harmful, and that's kind of really where the idea of the song started. But yeah, man, in terms of like, and I obviously on this album, Warren plays guitars and produced it, and there's got Adil. They've got Adil and JJ and Alok, who used to play with us at that point of time, and even did on the next record after that. But yeah, so awesome cast of musicians on it. But yeah, I think what was really striking about it is that the song, I put it out as a video for a test when we were shooting this kind of series for MTV Indies at that time. I was still in advertising, and we needed to shoot Raghu Dikshit one day in like Goa. It was just like a sport. We just got a call saying, okay, you guys got to go to Goa the next day. So we were like, okay, cool, let's test how we're going to shoot this, and ended up shooting a version of it, like an acoustic version, at the Little Door. And that video is still up there, and the song is still incomplete at that point of time. The bridge is not right, and I've got long hair, but that video did a lot for my career, because a lot of people shared it. I remember Jose from, at that time he was still a VJ with MTV. He shared it, and then a lot of people started picking up on that, and because of that I got another video and another video, and then I got gigs, and then kind of made me realize, oh, I gotta record these songs that I have, in my repertoire. So yeah, just kind of one thing led to another, and it's only because we decided that, oh, okay, cool, let's just put this video out and see what happens. And I think that's tied, of course, to the lyrics and the DNA of the song itself. And that's why I think, yeah, it was a good idea to open the record with it, because it's a strong song that way. Yeah.
Philosophy.
The record moves to Philosophy next, which is lyrically spitfiring going on over there. There's a bit of that, and a lot of words to that song. Tell me more about how you strung those melodies together, because they're not easy for anyone to like sing.
Yeah, I know. It's a strange song, but I think part of the song, obviously the song is kind of like a very cheeky kind of look at, relationships, or at least in this case it was about an ex of mine. Well, I wrote it as, a song about her, but the interesting thing about that song for me, which is something that I hold as a tenet now, like whenever I write songs, and it's held me in really, really good stead ever since that song. But the thing that I learned from that was that I reached this point in the song where I'd finished the verse, I finished the chorus, I finished another verse, I finished the pre-chorus, and I hit the chorus again. I was like, where do I go next from here? And the interesting thing was that in my mind, it was just like so obvious that, okay, I have to do this really, this is like kind of a rap section, very like Jason Mraz, like really, really quick kind of words in succession. And which had like a rhythm more, like it functioned more as a rhythmic kind of like section. I mean, the words I think are really interesting, and I'll say something about that as well. But but the fact that, I was just like, man, this has to be what comes next. And I'd never done anything like that before. And for some reason, I was just like, man, if I don't write this part, the song is never gonna be in its truest form. That's the way I was thinking about it. And it made me get out of my comfort zone a little bit, because I feel like, and this has happened a few times over the course of many songs that I've written going forward from there, where it's just been like, oh man, should I do this? I'm too afraid to do this. Is this the right move? And in my gut, it's just like, this is the weird thing that you've never done before that you should do right now. And that's the song that kind of really helped me kick it off. And ever since this song, it's kind of helped me a lot. Obviously, the writing, the lyrics, this very clever kind of approach to lyric writing, where there's like a pun here, or like a lyric trick in some of the sections, which has helped me kind of phrase words better going forward. But I've kind of abandoned this style of writing, because I always thought that it's not like genuine or disingenuous, but it's like I want to write, like going forward from there, even my songs that have come out of late, and even in the second album, have been more ambiguous and more like kind of open-ended, because I feel like that's truer to what I'm trying to say as an artist, rather than, oh, here's like, I will compromise what I'm trying to say because I want to write like a clever line, and I don't want to do that anymore, and I want to be more. And if it comes naturally, it's fine. But I think if I want to like really work on it just to create a clever line, I feel sometimes that's really not the point of what I'm trying to do with music. So even though it sometimes happens naturally, but yeah, not really the point. So those are the two lessons I feel like I gained from this song, and I kind of entered this little slightly bluesy kind of space, which was also interesting. So yeah.
Ooh, babe, don't you abuse me. Do you know how?
The mid record song is Ruby, of course, which has gone on to become its own thing. People call out for it all the time, everywhere. I see Ruby comments. Of course, you can say that it is the hit of the record. Why do you think that song particularly became the hit?
It's weird, man. I now have started singing in a much higher register, even though my voice, I feel like, is dropping in its range. But this song, right, it's like slow. It's, if people think about my music, if I think about my music, I think about big emotions, big epic kind of production. But also like a big groove element is part of my music, and I owe it to Adil and JJ also, as opposed to just my right hand on the acoustic guitar becomes a very percussive kind of part of it. But this song kind of just ignores those kind of rules in some ways, and is just flowing on based on like pure emotion and what the hook of the song, the chorus of the song is obviously one of my favorites. The thing that I really love about this song, I think, is obviously I love the lyrics. And I love one thing about the lyrics is that there's a lot of parts in the lyrics where they don't rhyme, and like I found that to be very true after writing the song, and years later on I realized that a lot of my songs, like a lot of the lines don't rhyme, but they just are delivered and people seem to be fine with it. I don't know why. But yeah, there are two things about this song. One is like obviously I love the bridge going into the final chorus because of that key change which is there. It's the first time that a key change came to me very like super naturally. It felt like the obvious part to write, and because it comes out really naturally into that kind of euphoric end chorus, like I've always loved that about this song, that it starts off with a chorus that is kind of like sad, and it's obviously there's a lot of melancholy in the song because it's about people taking other people for granted, and it's based on few people that I know, and it's about how we treat others in our lives that that have been there constantly and then just don't see the value in it sometimes. But I like that kind of ends weirdly, even though the lyrics are still the same. The final chorus has this very positive sound to it because there's a key change, so there's that automatic kind of thing about it, and also there's the chords are slightly different, right? It's not the same chords, and because of that it appears differently, and it's got that big kind of organ on it, and there's so many things that make it suddenly appear differently, and when that it goes from that very blues kind of bridge to that last chorus, it kind of has this transitional moment which I really really like, and I've tried to kind of incorporate. I don't know why people really like the song. I think it's obviously the lyrics are relatable. I think the chorus is very singable. A lot of people have told me that my songs are not very singable because the vocal acrobatics sometimes that I try, but I mean that's just like what I like to do. But this song, I don't know, for some reason a lot of people love to sing along, and and yeah man, it's great. I don't think I've been to any city in this country at least where there isn't somebody singing this in the audience, and for that I'm extremely grateful. And yeah, I love it. I love this song.
All I wanted was for us to be a certain kind of free and have each our small victories, cause
The fourth track on the record is The Next Best Thing, which the EP also, there's a lyric in the song that the EP takes its title from.
Yes.
So how did that stand out to name the EP Small Victories from that lyric?
I think I wanted to, I don't know if I don't know, it's weird, like I operate as an artist because I feel like this has come directly from my parents. My mother is like the super anxious, paranoid person. My dad is a super proud person. And so whenever I describe myself as a musician, on one day I'm either the greatest musician of all time and everybody sucks, or on some days I feel like I'm trash, and I don't deserve to be doing anything that I do. So it's like I oscillate between these. There's no middle ground for some reason. It's just like always this way. And I'm sure a lot of musicians and artists feel this way as well. But the thing that I felt about this song was that I knew that it's not going to be a hit song, or the song is about underdogs. And the thing about underdogs is that, there's a bit of humility in it, and I wanted to be the opening. I wanted that to be the encapsulating emotion of this album, that that I'm just a nobody, because I felt like also the musicians that I was around in Bombay are people who are Bombay kids, like they're from Bandra or they're townies or whatever it is, and they've lived in Bombay their entire lives, and so they have this kind of like right to be a Bombay bred, old school musician. And I was just this guy who didn't even grow up in India, kind of moved to Pune for a bit, and then moved to Bombay, and then suddenly I'm like appearing on the scene, and like I felt like I didn't feel bad about it, but I felt like, wow, this is like an interesting thing. So my first thing was to kind of put the feelers out, saying that, hey, hi, I'm Tejas, allow me to introduce myself. And I think this song particularly is about my time in Bombay, and even the lyrics kind of reflect that. find some place to like make your bed is because like I didn't have a place to sleep in my first year in Bombay because I got cheated out of my money, and I was just like sleeping on different people's couches, and people were very gracious and allowed me to be part of the city. And now I feel like very homely, like this is like my adoptive kind of city. So yeah, that song kind of reflects that idea that I just want to make, here's my little message to everybody, if you don't mind, kind of vibe. And it's weird, like the song is about underdogs, and it's also the most underrated song on this album, I feel. And like but by purely statistical measuring, I might add. But also it's one of those songs that I don't get to play very often live anymore because we have other songs to play now in our sets. But whenever I play the smaller, more intimate sets, invariably I get to play the song, which is very which typifies really what the song is kind of about, that it's only allowed to kind of shine in small, little areas. So I think that's kind of really what the song is about. And it's lived its kind of life through that, through my own performances that way as well.
Coming until the end.
Then the record closes with Until the End, which is highly produced and has a lot of dynamics in it. There's a lot of music flowing through. Tell me about the production the production sessions you guys had putting the song together, because it's quite different and heavier sounding than any of the other songs on the record.
Yeah, so a couple of things. I mean, there's a lot of things to say about all the songs, but if I may just use this one to kind of tell you about the production process. Like, these songs were jammed in 3 days and recorded in 3 days live, right? Like, all of us tracked together, and then we did like overdubs for vocals and Warren's guitars, but everything else is like tracked live. And the interesting thing was, I mean, that was all the time I had, right? I remember telling Warren also, I was like, man, I just want to do my vocals properly. He's like, first album, you can only do these many vocals. It's fine. And I was just like, okay, cool, fine. And it was this very rough and tumble way of making it. And then I had the complete opposite experience making the next album. And now for this album, which I'm working on currently, it's kind of split the difference weirdly. So it's every album has been different. But for this one, the interesting thing about this song was because I didn't grow up in India, I didn't feel like, I was not like apathetic to what was happening around me politically, or, just like, as a citizen of this country. But I always felt like a little underrepresented, or maybe I felt misrepresented because I didn't see too many people like me. I was still grappling with the language and, the people and the ways of these cities, Maharashtra in particular. And but when at the time I came around to writing this song, I think I was writing about how I felt really stupid about being an independent musician and why that was not like being appreciated more. It was like my complete naivete in that area, where I was just like, why are independent musicians not taken more seriously? We're writing from the heart, we're doing all of these things, and yet Bollywood kind of dominates. What's happening here, man? And that emotion kind of started turning into a bigger emotion. I was like, hey man, what about the government? Why do I feel like this government is not doing the job it should be? And and then I was thinking about the cyclical nature of things, which is like I tried to kind of conceptually also put into the song, which is something I try to do generally. If the emotion kind of demands it, it should be represented in the audio as well. So the song starts with this really small acoustic kind of riff, and it ends with that as well. And it kind of in the middle just goes through a whirlwind of like events. And I think that was what I was trying to say, is that things start as indie things, and then it becomes co-opted by brands, and then becomes this big thing that you start to hate and then resent, and then it becomes something else entirely, and then you're back to appreciating the very thing that you liked about it in the beginning. And so I was really writing about all of these kind of uprisings that we could have in order to change the status quo. And the song is very old school lyric writing. It's very like powerful, intense kind of words and feelings. And the production of it was it's on C sharp, okay, the entire key of the song. And so Warren, to kind of really get the grittiness of like what I was trying to say, he dropped his like guitars to like C sharp, which is something you don't usually do as much. You kind of take it down to a D maybe, but like he brought it really down and played these really intense kind of power chords just to get that thing. And there's a lot of like production on it, and I just felt like this is one song maybe that needed a lot more oomph in it, because I was trying to say something very serious, and the rest of the album is light on production. It's more about the words and the delivery, but this song kind of needed more than just that. And that's why kind of the key, even the notes that I hit right at the very end, there's a big build up, and at the end also there's a bit of a crescendo. So we wanted all of those things. And I don't know what it is about even my sets today that we always end with this song called Maybe We're Not Enough, which kind of leaves people a little uncomfortable, a little unsettled, a little sad, myself included. And usually most sets have to end with like a big joyous song or something that people can go home humming. But like I always like to leave people with a little bit of an uncanny, like a weirder kind of thought-provoking feeling perhaps. And this song does that for this album as well, which is like it ends with a really weird kind of emotion, and that's the end of the album, and you're just like, wait, what? Where did that come from? I was just listening to Ruby like 2 songs ago, and then it's just this that happened. So it's something that I've continued doing, and I still am doing, and I kind of like that this song also has that vibe to round off the rest of the album. So yeah.
So also wanted to ask you, it's been 6 years, of course, since the record came out.
Yeah.
You've changed, of course, as a person over time. How do you think the songs have evolved in that span of time?
Yeah, it's weird. The songs obviously are very different now when we play them live. I think that's just a natural progression of any musician. But the thing that I want to say about, if I make a holistic comment on my first record and general, I don't know what responses you got, but a lot of people who I've met, maybe not the ones you've interviewed, but a lot of people don't reflect well on their first albums or be like, oh, I don't, I hate this, oh my god, it's embarrassing, oh my voice sounds so shrill. But man, I'm very fond of of my albums, and like whatever they may be, Warren said this one thing, it's like a snapshot of who you were at that time, right? Like that's exactly what it is. Sometimes your old photographs are embarrassing to look at, you have a weird haircut or whatever it is, but I'm still very fond of it. It was my way to it changed my life in many ways, like this is how I became a musician, and what I do now for a living is because of everything that, and the response that I got from that album, from people to where people were just like, you must continue to make more music for everyone, and that obviously has supported my entire creative existence right now. So I'm very deeply grateful for everyone who was part of that album. Uttara, Warren, Adil, JJ, Cotton Press Studios, Alok, so many people who were just involved in that. And when I say so many people, it was just a handful of people who were all doing me a favor by doing it on cut rates, and even including Warren, who I didn't think at that time was producing anything, but we just asked him on a whim, and it happened, and through Uttara and Krish Makhija, of course, who I can't, forget. And so it was just like, I think obviously, the songs have evolved, but the memory is still very pure in my heart of this album, and I really love it. I don't listen to it as often. Like I've heard it, the last time I heard it was, 6-7 months ago, like properly revisit it. But other people are always listening to it and always telling me about the song. So I just I'm vicariously experiencing it through them, and through people who are listening to my music for the first time. They obviously go to Make It Happen first, and then they go back even further, and then they love something else about it. So it's always really nice to hear that from people, and it just makes me feel really good about that. And there's something very homely and indie about it, which I can't say about so many other things that I've done in my life, but that one is obviously very special to me.
Tejas, man, for taking the time to be part of this, and I'm looking forward to the third record, which sounds exciting.
Yeah, should be out sometime this year. So excited as well.
Cool. See you, man.
Thanks a lot, David. Bye.